All right, let's talk about the money part.
Yes.
That part. So it gets tough, especially if you are selling your house and buying another house. Because basically you're looking at carrying 2 mortgages potentially or having to time it right. So let's talk money.
Yeah, so the logistics of this and the finances of this, I think, are really challenging. So you've got to decide, first of all, can you afford to carry 2 mortgages if you're going to buy first before you've got a closed deal? And really, we're focusing on the buying side, but when we were buying our home, the person we were buying from had a sale. They had our closing date sale, and they were closing on their new property on the same day. And what we ended up finding out is when we went through the home inspection, found some extra stuff that we weren't really prepared for. We kind of had them on the ropes a little bit because they clearly needed that sale to go through, and they were very worried about losing that deal if we had backed out at that time. And we got to renegotiate price and seller credit again at that home inspection point. So I think there's a couple lessons there. Number one, try not to paint yourself into a corner if you can. And if you do, make sure your realtor doesn't tell the other person that's buying your home. That put them at a huge information disadvantage. And again, I don't think we took advantage of them. I think there were real things in the home. But that is really critical to me, that you control some of that information flow. And so if you're going to put yourself in a position where you have to have the new money out to make your down payment, I think you've got to be thinking about maybe having a gap there where you're going to be in some sort of like an extended hotel or something like that for a couple weeks maybe, so that you're not right against the ropes for making the closings work.
There are a couple of ways of doing it, and I've done one of them. That is the bridge loan, right? So it's a very short-term loan that you use as the down payment on the purchase of the house until you sell your house and get that money out and pay off the loan. It was very easy to do. And I almost wondered why the bank was even bothering, because we only had the loan for a month or two. But regardless, that is an option. Another thing that people have done is borrowed from their 401k, which can have advantages.
Some people, some
hypothetical, some very responsible, smart people.
One of the 3 people in the room.
Yes. And the good thing about that is that, it's very easy. It's actually not even a loan.
It's so easy.
So you don't have to get a credit check or anything like that. And the interest that you pay is to yourself. The downside is that money's not in the market. So if the market shoots up while that's happening, you missed out on that. And if you don't pay it back, it's considered a distribution. You pay taxes and penalties. So it's definitely an option for very responsible people.
The other way to do it, and this is what we ended up doing, well, sort of, this was the plan that we ended up doing, and then I screwed that up a little bit. But
hey, everybody makes mistakes.
No, it's fine. The other thing that you can do, and I ended up doing my purchase loan with Rocket Mortgage. And one of the things that you can do with a loan that's in good standing is called recast it. And so, for example, if you take out a bigger loan on the purchase, you can then put a huge payment against it. If you typically put a big payment against a mortgage, it doesn't change your payment. But if you recast the loan, they basically redo the amortization schedule with the same ending date. So that actually lowers your payment, which I think is kind of a fascinating strategy because now we may even disagree on this. Some people would say just pay against the principal, keep making the same payment and pay it off sooner. But if you're worried about that cash flow month to month and you don't want to have the bigger bill, recasting the loan is like doing a smaller loan for the same time period that you originally started with. Yeah. And they were willing to do that for, I think it's about $100 to get them to do that, where other lenders may charge a much bigger fee. And so that was one of the main reasons I ended up going with them on the purchase side, was because my plan was to buy the new home with a bigger mortgage, take the money out of the sale, and then recast the loan. Where that failed is I ended up putting all that money back into renovations, so I still have the bigger loan that I took out. And I bet that's probably what happened to a lot of people in that same strategy, is they can't sit on the cash. So, that's my failure. But at the same time, the house looks nice.
I'll just say anecdotally, too, for this people that I know, either people personally or members I've spoken with, who've gone the 2 mortgages route, sell the one house and all that, I would say in about half those situations, it took longer to sell the house than they expected. So you just got to make sure you have that room in your budget just in case something happens and you end up having those 2 mortgages longer than you expected.
Yeah, one thing that happened to us is my credit score took a really big hit. And we were like puzzled by it. And then Ron was like, maybe it was because for like 30 days we were $1 million in debt.
Could be.
I was like, maybe that, because nothing had really changed in our lives except for that we were massively in debt for a very short amount of time. So yeah, I think it's going to take a little while for my credit score to recover, which is kind of sad.
And you also didn't have payment history on the new loan yet. So that's going to be part of it, I think, is just that you haven't proven yourself to be a good payer on that note.
I am good.
You'll be fine.
I trust you.
Thank you.
I'll lend you money.
Get some money to lend
No,
me?
I don't have any money.
All right. We're good now. So, well, you're going to need help selling your house. Although I've known people who just went through a lawyer, but you are going to need some help, whether it's a realtor, lawyer. Let's talk about this kind of help.
Yeah. So this is where I think the numbers really get serious. The biggest cost in selling your home is going to be the commission that you pay to actually have the house sold. So normally, I think a traditional real estate commission is the 6% range. So you're going to assume whatever you list the home for, you're going to end up with 94% of that kind of hitting your bottom line. There's been pressure on those prices from a lot of places these days. So Redfin advertises a 1% listing fee. There's a minimum there depending on where you are and what the home's worth. But so you're starting to see that come down. It is a negotiation point. So if you're going to work with a realtor, we had the same listing agent on our selling side that we did on our buying side, and they were willing to work with us a little bit there. As a result of that.
How much do they work with you?
I think we took 1% off of it.
Okay.
So I think we ended up listing for 5%, and probably could have been more aggressive than that. But I want it to be win-win. They did a lot of work for us in helping us get the house ready, quite frankly. So I wanted to make sure that they were making money and we were. That's not the most capitalist thing I've ever said, but I wanted it to be a fair deal all around and not not come out one-sided.
And I would say the same thing. I've negotiated every time we've used a realtor, and I would say we've done it between 4% and 5%, especially if you are also using them on the buy side as well.
Yeah. But the new services, depending on what you need and how much coaching you need. Now, this is our first time selling a home. If I did it again, maybe I would do something with less personal touch. This time, since it was my first time through, I wanted the hand-holding, and I can recognize that about myself. And being in the advice business, I've kind of learned to trust professionals when I feel like I'm out of my depth, and this was one of those spaces. So I was happy to do it the way we did.
And I would say, really, if you get a good realtor, it's definitely worth the money. And by good, I mean helping with the staging for sure, helping with the decisions about what needs to be upgraded or not. I mean, if your fridge is 10, 15 years old, should you upgrade it or not? They'll help with that. They'll help with the pictures.
Yep.
And everyone is going to see your house first online in pictures, and you want to make sure that you have good pictures.
Totally.
They know how to do that. And then they serve as the negotiator. So you're not negotiating with the people who want to buy your house. They're doing all of that. And sometimes if you want to play hardball, it's a lot easier if someone else is doing it for you than if you have to do it yourself.
Yeah, because you can kind of do a little bit of a good cop, bad cop routine. And quite frankly, you may get an offer that is insulting. Somebody may send you a lowball offer. Again, it depends on kind of the heat of your market at the time that you do this. And your response to that person might be heck no, and they may be a little bit more measured in terms of how they respond, or this is kind of what they're looking for. But hopefully, they're going to also help you find a listing price that makes sense. They're going to look at the comps in your market. They're going to look at what's around you, what else is for sale, and hopefully help you come in at an attractive place where the deal all goes just a little bit quicker.
One thing I would add from my own little personal experience is realtors are going to be sending you lots of contracts. Like when they start bringing contracts in and they're like, hey, take a look at this one, take a look at this one. Like, definitely check them to make sure they are right, because we had offers that they put the wrong address in, and they were trying to put in an offer on our neighbor's house.
Oh, wow.
And we got offers where they didn't have my name on it. And
what a good neighbor that you could go to your neighbors and say, hey, good news.
I sold your house.
You're moving.
Got you a good deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you can go through it with a fine-tooth comb, but at least look at the parts where there is a highest opportunity for human error, and you will see them because every contract we received, there was something where it was like, well, actually, actually Allison should be on this. Actually, that's not our address. Actually, so anyway.
I also loved that the documents this time through, and again, it was about 6.5 years from when we bought our place originally. Everything's electronic now.
Yeah.
We use DocuSign for everything, which was just incredible versus having to just sign all this junk over and over again. It was much, much easier.
And did you guys get any personal letters from people saying, hey, this is who we are. We really want to live in your house. Choose us.
We didn't. We did get the aggressive, like, kind of lowball cash offer, like, well, you're not going to get anything better than this.
Oh, really?
And we told them to pack sand.
Yeah. We received some really sweet letters from people saying, hey, we just got married. We have a dog. We want to have babies. And I was like, that was just like you and me when we bought the house. I was like, give them the house. Give it to them.
I mean, it's funny when you get the cash offer and in theory, the cash offer could close quicker because that buyer isn't waiting on financing. And so if they're making that cash offer, they seem to assume that you're going to show that some preference. I don't really care if it's cash or not. I'm going to get the same check regardless.
Same amount of money anyway.
I'm worried about the number.
Yeah,
so let's go ahead and come to the table because and again, if you're a little bit more desperate to sell or if you're on a tighter timeline, maybe that quick close becomes more and more important to you. But I wasn't going to give up $5,000-$10,000 to close 3 weeks earlier. Like, I don't care. No, I'll just sit around and wait. And again, that strength of having that patience or being in a position that you're comfortable, I think is really important there.
Yeah, with us too. Like, yes, they wrote very sweet letters and I got teared up. But the fact is we went with the one whose clause escalated the highest. Like that's what really got me sentimental.
There it is.
There it is. Actually, to be fair, both of them were exactly like we were.
The other thing that I think is helpful for a realtor to have around is managing the inspection. And every house is going to have an inspection, and an inspection is always going to turn up something.
Oh, so much something. It's pages and pages and pages of stuff where you're like, what? No, this house is fine.
Right.
It's and I know some sellers do this. They actually will do a pre-inspection. They'll hire their own inspector to come through and basically do it like a buyer's inspection, just to understand what's going to be uncovered. I wasn't kind of willing to go to that length to figure out what was wrong with the house. I kind of had ideas of what was wrong already. But yeah, that's certainly an idea. If you think that there might be a long list or you're a little bit worried about what they're going to find, just go ahead and pay somebody. It's a few $100 to do it, and you can be out in front of it.
Yeah, and there's some things when you turn up, like you have to fix. There's certain things, depending on where you live in state laws, like you cannot sell a house if this one thing is wrong. Everything else is negotiable, and that's where the realtor comes in, and that's helpful too. But just know that you are going to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars after your house gets inspected.
Yeah, the listing number, you got to kind of keep that out of your head. I mean, you should. I think you should go into it kind of with a bottom line number of we want to get at least this. And that's what we ended up doing and kind of managing to that bottom line number. But when you start at the top, if you do the math there, you're going to be disappointed at the end because between the repairs, between all the additional costs of moving and all this stuff, you're going to end up with less in your pocket than you think.
One reason why you would consider getting an inspection beforehand, because once the inspection gets done and something gets found, the buyers will want a certified plumber or electrician or handy person to fix that. They don't want you to say, oh yeah, I'll fix that. I'll run to Home Depot. If you find out things that are wrong beforehand, you have the opportunity to fix it yourself before hiring outside help.
That's a great point. But yes, that's you have to prove receipts for anything that they ask you to fix.